If picking a stock divided by bond split has felt like guesswork, use this clear process to match your allocation to your time horizon, your real risk tolerance, and the constraints in your life so you can hold it through full market cycles without second guessing. Start by remembering what the mix actually does for you. Stocks are the long-run growth engine with higher volatility, while high-quality bonds are the ballast that steadies the ride and fund rebalancing when stocks wobble. Cash sits outside the mix as a safety buffer for emergencies and near-term spending, so it doesn't dilute the job your investment portfolio is supposed to do. This episode plugs directly into the three-fund portfolio you set up: Total US, Stocks, Total International Stocks, and a core bond fund, with the stock divided by bond split acting as the heartbeat that sets your risk and your day-to-day experience. Your automation dollar rate cost averaging on a paycheck cadence and reinvesting dividends and interest keeps that engine running, but the allocation you choose is what determines how bumpy the road feels and whether you can stay seated. The goal here is not to find a perfect number. The goal is to pick a good, durable number that you can keep through both bull markets and bear markets, so compounding has the time it needs to work. Start with two concepts that sound similar but are not the same. Risk tolerance is how much volatility you can emotionally endure without abandoning your plan, while risk capacity is how much risk you can financially afford given your income stability, savings rate, and years until you need the money. If your feelings say you can ride out big dips but your time horizon is short, your capacity, not your bravado, should lead, and your allocation should reflect the lower of the two. Put simply, if tolerance is high but capacity is low, let capacity win. If capacity is high but tolerance is low, scale down so you actually stick with it. Time horizon is the most practical anchor because it governs recovery time from drawdowns and sequence ruins risk if you will be withdrawing soon. If your goal is decades away, higher equity weights can make sense because there's more time to recover and the historical equity premium has had room to show up. If you're within a decade of withdrawals or expected spending, increasing the bond weight reduces the chance that early losses force you to sell stocks at low prices to fund needs. To make all of that tangible, think in volatility ranges rather than single numbers. A 90/10 stocks divided by bonds mix can deliver the highest long-run growth, but comes with deep and frequent drawdowns that can exceed 40–50% in severe markets, and it requires a very steady hand. An 80/20 or 70/30 mix still leans into growth, but moderates drawdown size somewhat, often making the path easier to live with while preserving a strong equity engine. A 60/40 mix has historically been a balanced middle, trading some upside for smaller swings and a smoother ride that many households can keep funding through recessions. A 40/60 or 30/70 mix emphasizes stability and cash flow planning for near-term goals or later life withdrawals, recognizing that the primary job has shifted from growth to reliability. And use a blunt stress test to calibrate your mix. Could you look at a 30–50% drawdown in the equity sleeve on paper, keep contributing, and wait years for recovery without changing your plan? If the honest answer is no, move your equity weight down until the answer becomes yes, because the only allocation that works is the one you can keep. Write that commitment down in a one-page investment policy statement so future you has rules to follow when the news is loud. Include your human capital and job risk in the picture, because your paycheck behaves like an asset too. If your income is stable, diversified, and tends to rise with inflation, you might afford slightly more equity. If your income is cyclical, commission-based, or concentrated in a volatile industry, you may want more bonds to buffer those risks. Households should consider the combined stability of both earners, especially if jobs are in the same sector or region, because correlated job risk argues for a safer portfolio mix. Before you finalize a mix, handle the constraints that can force bad decisions at the worst moments. Keep an emergency fund, often 3–6 months of core expenses, more if income is variable, so a surprise bill doesn't become a forced portfolio sale during a downturn. Prioritize paying off high-interest debt before stretching for a riskier allocation, because eliminating a sure 15–20% drag beats hoping extra equity exposure will cover it. And wall off near-term spending needs, home down payment, tuition, planned medical costs in cash or short-term treasuries rather than betting your long-term mix will hold up on your timeline. Now map the mix to your U.S. account lineup so it's easy to implement and maintain. Workplace plans like 401ks and Roth 401ks are typically the first stop. Capture the employer match and steer those contributions into the stock divided by bond split that fits using the available index mutual funds or ETFs. IRAs and Roth IRAs can mirror the same mix using low-cost index funds or ETFs, and taxable accounts can hold the equity sleeves efficiently while you try to shelter bond income in tax-advantaged accounts when possible. If you want defaults to start from, tie them to horizon ranges, then personalize. With 20+ years until you'll spend the money, many choose 80/20 or 70/30, reserving 90/10 for investors with both high capacity and proven tolerance over full cycles. In the 10-20 year window, 70/30 to 60/40 balances growth with path control as spending dates come into view. Inside 10 years to withdrawals, 60/40 down to 40/60 prioritizes stability and sequence risk management so your plan doesn't hinge on short-term market luck. Personalize these starting points with a sleep sought night test and real experience. If news cycles or volatility nudge you to log in and consider changes, shift 5-10 percentage points from stocks to bonds to buy yourself better adherence. Only consider nudging back up after you've lived through a significant downturn while contributing on schedule without any urge to flinch. Decide whether you want a glide path that slowly raises bonds over time and automate it. Some investors prefer calendar-based steps, for example adding 5 percentage points to bonds every 5 years, as major goals approach, while others use band break events to justify incremental shifts. Coordinate this with pensions or Social Security timing so the total household risk matches the actual need for portfolio income at each phase. Build rebalancing rules that are mechanical and boring. Set tolerance bands around your targets, say, plus or minus 5 percentage points on the stock divided by bond split, and rebalance on the earlier of an annual review or a band breach. Use new contributions and dividends first to steer weights back toward target so you minimize taxable sales and trading costs, and only sell when contributions can't close the gap. Implement with your 3-fund core so you don't reinvent the wheel. Express the stock side across total US and total international at your chosen split inside stocks. Many use anywhere between 20-50% of equity in international and keep the bond sleeve in a broad investment-grade, low-cost fund. Favor index funds or ETFs with low expense ratios, consistent tracking, and high liquidity so you can automate buys and rebalancing without friction becoming the story. Place the sleeves where they fit best from a tax perspective while keeping the whole portfolio view. If you have space, put taxable bond funds in tax-advantaged accounts first, and let broad equity index funds or ETFs live in taxable accounts where their lower turnover helps after-tax outcomes. Stick to the combined household weights across all accounts and resist the temptation to let asset location twist the core allocation out of shape. A few edge cases deserve clear rules. If you're a late starter, increasing the savings rate and cutting unnecessary complexity matters more than stretching equity beyond your true tolerance just to chase time. If you receive a windfall, choose a deployment approach lump sum if behavior allows, or a brief DCA ramp if it helps you stick with the plan that respects the stock divided by bond split you just chose. If your income has Cliff's concentrated RSUs, a cyclical business, hold a slightly larger cash buffer and avoid piling risk on risk via an equity weight that could force selling at poor times. Protect yourself with behavioral guardrails so you can stay the course. Write a 1-page plan that lists your allocation, your rebalancing bands, your contribution cadence, and a rule that changes happen for life reasons only. Job change, goal change, family needs. Not for market headlines. Add a 24-72-hour cooling off rule before any deviation, and track streaks of contributions and rebalances so your identity aligns with being a processo-driven investor. To see how this plays out, consider 3 quick personas: An early career saver at 30 with a stable salary and a 30U horizon might choose 80 over 20 with 60% of equity in US and 40% in international committing to DCA and a 5-point band. A mid-career couple at 45 with kids and variable bonuses might land near 65 over 35, hold a larger cash buffer, and use tighter rebalancing bands to keep risk in range. A pre-retiree at 60, 5 years from withdrawals, might choose 50 over 50 and secure 2-3 years of expected withdrawals via the bond sleeve and a modest cash ladder to reduce sequence risk. Now compress this into a one-page decision checklist you can act on today. Write down your horizons, your honest tolerance, your capacity, your cash buffer, your account types, and your tax bracket, then pick a stock divided by bond percentage and a U. S. International split inside stocks. Set 5-point bands, choose an annual review month, map asset location by account, and turn on automation for contributions and reinvestment so the plan runs without you. As a callback, your stock divided by bond split is what right-sizes the 3-fund engine you already built, so the compounding you're paying for with contributions has the best odds of being captured by your behavior. The combination of simple low-cost funds or ETFs, a calendar-based DCA routine, and clear rebalancing bands is what removes guessing and keeps you invested through the parts of the journey that matter most. The purpose of this process is not to predict, it's to eliminate points where prediction could have tempted you to abandon a good plan. Next up, strengthen the equity side by diversifying beyond a single market in a way that is simple, cost-aware, and easy to automate so one country or sector doesn't dominate your results. Expect practical guidance to balance US. And international exposure, consider modest complements without overcomplicating the core and keep your rules intact across 401k, IRA, and taxable accounts. Bring your current stock divided by bond split and your tickers and be ready to layer global breadth on top of the foundation you finished today in a few clear steps.